Hello, welcome back to Hazel Jane Tarot. And today I'm doing a video response to the hashtag Tarot Collector. This hashtag was started by Moonbaby. I came across it on Juli at Peekaboorose's channel, which led me to Brant's channel. And it's a great tag with 9 prompts to get you to think about your tarot deck collection. So the first prompt is, what is your most expensive deck? And just one of the things that made this a little bit easier for me to answer actually was earlier this week I had watched a video from Kim at Abundant Life Tarot talking about deck collecting, a course that she's running, and the video that I watched was specifically about wish lists, and she showed her spreadsheets where she's catalogued her wish list and also her deck collection and in a big spreadsheet. And I thought my little Virgo self decided that it was a good idea to do this too. And inspired by Kim, I have created a spreadsheet myself with my deck collection and all the decks I bought this year and how much they cost, and then decks from previous years. And in the process, I catalogued how much I'd spent on all my different decks. So I was easily able to find out that the Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas by Andrea Furtick has been my most expensive purchase so far. And this deck I got from Little Red Tarot, which is an independent tarot retailer in the UK. And it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's such a high quality production, gorgeous cardstock, and beautiful, beautiful art. It really ticks all the boxes of the kind of deck that I like. If you've seen my deck Delights and Deterrence, bright, vibrant colours based on the Rider-Waite Smith, figurative illustrations. I haven't worked with it yet. As you can see, it's still in order, and it's very new to my collection still, but I am looking forward to getting to know it and working with it soon. But yes, so this was my most expensive deck, and this cost in the UK, it was £73, 10p if I recall. I think I've included the postage, which wasn't a huge amount actually, but yeah, the deck was around the £70 mark to buy in the UK. So that's the Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas, absolutely gorgeous deck. It also came with this little like magnifying glass to look at the detail of the cards, and a bag as well. So my cheapest is the next question. Number 2 is your least expensive deck. And my least expensive deck, I was able to see from my spreadsheet, is the Everyday Tarot. And this was £9.99. So like a seventh of the price of that other deck. So this deck is a kind of it's not a mini deck, but it's a smaller tarot deck. And it comes in this really weird box. This is a mass market deck. It's it's written by Bridget Esselmont of Biddy Tarot, and the artist is Eleanor Grosh. And I think it works pretty well as a deck. Like it's fits really right in with the Biddy Tarot branding in terms of its colors, and that actually is aesthetically quite lovely, the purple and gold and white. I'd bought it really because I'd used so many the cards stick together. It's really annoying, which is why I haven't really used this very much, because they do stick together. But it's a nice deck though, all the same. But I got it because I've used quite a lot of the free resources. See, they just clump, and it is very annoying. I'd used a lot of the free resources from Biddy Tarot, the card meanings that she has on their website, and particularly the podcast. The Biddy Tarot podcast archive is really excellent. And I felt like I should probably buy something to support the company. So I got the deck, and I got a book as well, but I haven't really used this very much, and it might end up getting rehomed at some stage. But yes, this is my cheapest deck, the Everyday Tarot. So the deck other collectors want to steal from your collection. Well, I mean, I don't have a huge collection. I think I have about 35 tarot decks, something like that. So I don't know if I've got anything that people would really want to steal, but the one that I could maybe put in this category is actually the same one that Juli put in this category. This is the Lightseers Tarot by Chris-Anne. This is an independent edition, and this is one of the ones that had the original 10 of Swords in it. I don't keep it in this box because it has it has the book. It's sort of a kind of 2-section box, which I don't really like. So I don't keep it in this box. I keep it in this bag. And it's a really great deck. I mean, people have seen this before. There's a mass market version of this available, which isn't expensive at all. But for some reason, some people are paying, I've seen people pay $600 to get this on eBay, which, you know, personally for me, with the mass market version being available, but you know, having said that, I'm not in a hurry to get rid of my own. This is one of my absolute favorite tarot decks, so it's quite precious to me. So that is the Lightseers Tarot by Chris-Anne. My strangest deck, this is kind of hard to answer because I don't think any of my decks are especially strange. A lot of my decks are really based on the Rider-Waite-Smith system, and the only thing that would make them strange is maybe that they go their own way a little bit, some of them. The only one I could really think of that might fit into this category is the Story Medicine Tarot. This is by Jessica Zinchuk. I don't keep it in that tuck box. I actually keep it in the red bag that came with the Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas, because it's the Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas is in a beautiful box and doesn't really need the bag, whereas the Story Medicine Tarot really needed a bag. Anyway, so yeah, this is a really unusual deck, I guess. It has, it arranges the meanings of the cards according to some stories. So you have a story, like, so the Swords follows the story of the woman with horns, and then there are a number of major arcana cards, and then the swords suit that are associated with that story. And then you get the same with each of the other suits. There's say 4 or 5 major cards, and then the minors associated with the particular suit. And as you can see, the imagery is quite confronting in its depictions of well, there's a lot of nudity, and women of all different ages, and, you know, it explores a lot of themes around, you know, the female body and, you know, motherhood and menstruation and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's a really, I find it actually a really deep and intuitive deck to read with. And there's a new deck coming out in this series from Jessica Zinchuk at the moment, the Story Medicine Tarot Animal Woman. And yeah, so I don't know if you would really think that's an unusual deck, but in terms of its approach to the tarot system and, you know, sort of reorganizing the way the courts are and so on, that's probably the strangest deck that I've got. The deck other people are least likely to have in their collection is Prompt 5. And again, that's tricky because I have a small collection compared to some people. So most people probably have all the decks that I have. But the one that I have come up with for this is the Painted Tarot by Sophie McKay Knight. And the reason I've picked this is because I haven't seen it very much on YouTube. I came across it initially on Instagram. Sophie McKay Knight is a British artist. She's based in Scotland. And maybe that's why, maybe like a lot of the people who I follow online or are in America and elsewhere, and maybe with this being a British-based artist, it hasn't got the number of people ordering it from overseas yet. But it's an absolutely stunning deck. The art is really beautiful. It's so colourful. As I said earlier, you know, I love brightly coloured depictions of people in decks. Like, it's just really lovely. So this is an independent deck. You order it directly from Sophie McKay Knight herself from her website, or you can get it, I think she has it on her Etsy store. That's her website address, sophiemckayknight.com. So yeah, it's just a deck that it's fairly new out. It was new out this year, and I got it there just in August 2020. So a deck that other people might not have not because it's rare, but just because it's fairly new and from a British artist. A deck that other people might not have yet is the Painted Tarot. But yeah, well worth checking out because it's gorgeous. My oldest deck. Okay, so there are two ways you could interpret this. The deck that is actually physically the oldest, or the deck that you've had for the longest. So I'm going to answer both. So for question 6, my oldest deck is the Mythic Tarot by Juli and Liz Green. Now this is the cards that are illustrated by Trisha Newell. There is a new Mythic Tarot, which is totally, the art has been redrawn, which is not as nice, I don't think. So this is one that I tracked down on Etsy. It came in a big kind of plain box, which I don't use. It's just in storage, so I keep it in this little bag. These are the black backs, and it's got this really kind of papery old cardstock. I still haven't worked with this extensively. I feel like I need to give it a month to really sit and work with and study and learn the Greek mythology connections, you know, with each of the arcana. But it is it's a gorgeous deck. The art is lovely, and I mean, especially that Empress is just so nice. And the book tells me that I think this is the first printing of this deck. I think I have never been able to completely to confirm for sure if this is the first edition, but it says that it's copyright 1986. And this edition is copyright 1986, and it was first published in 1986. So that would suggest that that's this one, that this is the 1986 first printing of the Mythic Tarot. So that's my oldest tarot deck. And I know as tarot goes, it's not the oldest deck in the world. I have a reprint of the Visconti Sforza, the Pierpont Morgan Visconti Sforza, which is obviously a much older deck in terms of its concept, but you know, the printing I have was done like a couple of years ago, so I didn't count that. My oldest deck, as in the one I've had for the longest, is this one, the box for which is long gone. And this is the Tarot of a Moon Garden. This was my very first tarot deck. As you can see, I have trimmed it. Not really out of choice, mainly because I tried to edge it when I discovered that edging was a thing. And yes, trying to edge a really old deck that has been battered and shuffled 1,000 times is not a good idea because it bled everywhere and it was a mess, and I had to trim it. But it still looks kind of nice trimmed. And this is my very oldest deck, the one I bought first. I bought it in 1997. This is the little white book. So this is a copyright 93. So this was printed in 1993, but I bought it in 1997. And that was my very first tarot deck. I don't really read with it very much. I've got so many other ones now that have less pippish minor arcana that I prefer. But that is my oldest, as in oldest in my hands, one I've had the longest. So prompt number 7 is your newest deck, and I had to actually check to see which one was the newest, because a few had come in. The Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas, the Story Medicine Tarot, and this one all came in the same month, but this was the one that I got the most recently. This is the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshi Yoshitani, and it's a really lovely, it's a lovely deck. Oh, it's sitting in 2 sections because I've been going through the book Beneath the Moon, and reading all the stories and then putting the deck in order of the stories as they appear in the book Beneath the Moon. So these are the ones I haven't read yet, and these are the stories that I have read. But yes, it's a mass market deck and really quite cheap. When I was looking at the costs, I'd paid, I think this was £14, just under £14, which, you know, which for this deck I think is really great value. So it's a beautiful, diverse deck, uses stories from all around the world, and yeah, a lovely deck. And the storybook that goes with it, there's a lot to get out of reading this deck, so it's really nice. That's the newest one. Now, the deck that made me want to collect decks in the first place, that was kind of a hard question to answer, because I sort of started collecting decks quite slowly. If you watch my deck collection video, I sort of showed my decks in chronological order of when I got them. And the first sort of 5 or 6 decks that I got, there were quite a few months between the purchases, and they were all mass market decks. And it wasn't really, I never really thought of it as collecting. It was more just, oh, I haven't got a deck that does this, so I'll maybe get one like this, you know, that kind of thing. And it was very slow. And then I guess I discovered Instagram and TarotTube and all the amazing different decks that are out there. And I'm going to show you 2 decks that I feel kind of tipped me over into buying decks. And really, I suppose they were my first indie deck purchases. And the first one is the Numinous Tarot, which is by Cedar McLeod and is an absolutely amazing, such an easy to read with deck. It's one of my favorites. It's designed to be representative of and inclusive of particularly LGBT plus people, but also it's diverse of race and ability and age, and you know, it's just a really considerate deck. And I think this deck was the first one that made me think about the different types of decks that are out there in terms of representation and diversity. And it's gorgeous to read with. And this is one I got from Little Red Tarot, and so that introduced me to Little Red Tarot as a retailer and the indie decks that are available to purchase within the UK, which was a big, you know, kind of transition in my collecting, as it were. And then this deck, which I bought from the artist directly. This is the Dreamkeeper's Tarot, which is coming out as a mass market deck, I believe. Oh, I love the cardstock of this deck so much. This is by Liz Houston. And again, this is one I came across on Instagram. And this was the first deck that I ordered directly from the artist from America. So actually paid like the extra $20 for international postage, and waited for ages for it to arrive. And, you know, I think these 2 decks, making my first indie deck purchase and realizing that you can buy decks directly from artists and that there are more diverse decks out there, and then actually going and ordering a deck from an artist in America. I think those 2 were sort of that tipping point from me, from just buying the odd deck from Amazon to actually being maybe a bit more of a tarot deck collector. And the last prompt number 9, is your favorite deck from your collection. And this will probably come to no surprise if you've watched any of my videos before, but that's the Gaian Tarot by Joanna Powell Colbert. And funnily, the Gaian Tarot was actually the second deck I ever got, many years after the Tarot of a Moon Garden, and not this edition. But I really love the Gaian Tarot. This is the Llewellyn edition, which is currently out of print. But it's a lovely mixture of natural imagery and imagery of people. This is a self-portrait of Joanna Powell Colbert herself, I believe. This deck was made many years ago. I can't remember whether it was in the 90s maybe that this deck was originally made. I just love the community that it shows. I sort of want to live in this deck. I want to be her. Like, she looks so happy. It's just gorgeous. It shows a nice diversity of people as well, particularly in terms of race and age. And yeah, it's just a beautiful deck. Although I have said recently, like, I haven't read with it that much recently because I have so many new decks coming into my collection, and maybe it's getting to the point where, you know, I keep saying it's my favorite deck, but it's not the one I'm working with the most. So maybe I need to consider that statement at some point. But that is, yeah, the beautiful Gaian Tarot. So thank you to Brant at at Moon Baby for coming up with this great tag, and thank you to everybody for watching. If you're still watching all the way to the end, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel and give the video a like. And if you love any of these decks or hate any of these decks, I would love to have a talk with you about it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.